Bonjour. Welcome to my first video. As Christmas is approaching, I decided to start with Christmas decoration. First project will be a tablecloth for the Christmas dinner. I already have a protective plastic tablecloth that I am using on my table, and you can see here it has an oval shape and it is the exact dimension of my table, so I will be using this as the guide. I found this beautiful tartan imitation, so it's in polyester, I guess, but I like the design. But the fact is, it's not really Christmassy. So there is this fabric, which is transparent and has beautiful sparkling effect, which could be giving a more festive vibe if we combine it with the tartan. As I want to have matching napkins, I found this one. It's cotton fabric, it's quite classic, it seems easy to use. So we will have probably a design mixing the tartan and the napkin. Having two different fabrics means I can separate the tartan from the sparkling fabric, so I can have a tablecloth which can be used for any other occasions and which is still matching with the napkins. Laid out a protective layer on the tartan, and I left 13 centimeters here, here, and at the bottom here. Now I'm going to cut the tartan on this side at 13 centimeters as well, so we will have something which is quite regular, and then I will cut around the shape here to get the oval shape. I kind of like a long length of seam, but if I do it this way, it seems pretty small. So maybe I will keep it long, so I have this part which is hanging from the table and cutting maybe a band of fabric from my exceeding fabric here to create a larger seam. What I like with fabrics with squares is that you can use the lines in order to know where to cut. And my 13 centimeters are along this line, so this is where I will cut. I am now marking the edge of the fabric in order to prepare the line along which I will be cutting. Once I have all my markings, I only have to connect them. I said I did not need it to be perfect, and here I am trying to make it absolutely matching every single line. So it's exactly the same on both sides of the table. This is short, but I tried adding a larger seam. That was one of my ideas. But then I realized that I do not have enough remaining fabric to do the full round around the table. So if I want to do this additional seam here, I will have to abandon the napkins. And this was my first idea, and I really want to do this design. So what I'm going to do, I think, is just a smaller seam here, maybe 5 centimeters. So it will still be covering the table, but not so much. I mark 5 centimeters between my needle and the edge of my fabric in order to have the correct dimension for my seam. After a few stitches, I realized that I didn't like the effect of this 5 centimeter seam, so I decided to switch to another solution. I found an old bias tape that was sold as an elastic, and I had never found the correct project to use it, though it could be a good idea to use it this time. I am not sure of how much I have, so I have to measure it first. I decided that I will continue with it. I barely have enough. I think there will be a small portion of my tablecloth which will not be covered by the bias tape, but it's okay because I'm kind of used to this and I always find a way to add a little design, like maybe a bow tie or something like this to make it a little more finished, let's say. So if I have a really small part which is not covered with bias, I will do the fancy design on this part. My small gap is about 45 centimeters. So it's not small at all. I sewed the bias with a zigzag stitch in order to prevent the tartan from fraying and to lock the bias in position. I will then fold it in half to have a nice finish. I used red thread instead of black because I didn't think of that. Now I have to select which stitch I want to use in order to have something beautiful as the end result. Some shape which would grow bigger here and again thinner to match this part again, and here a bow or a star or whatever. Because I still have scraps from the tartan part, but well, maybe it will work. Let's see. Let's see. Up. I don't like it. If I use another black, which is not this fabric, which is not this kind of tape, it will be visible and it will give away the fact that I messed up, which is the actual reason why we are trying to find a way to fix it. But I decide to change the color. So maybe going for something red or green. So this is the only fabric that I found that could do the trick. It's some kind of tartan, it's different. The squares are smaller, as you can see. They are smaller and we have golden highlights, which are shimmering in the light. So it's kind of a nice one. It's different. It's very different. If we compare the two of them, we don't have the same feeling at all. But now, the question is, will it enable to close the gap? I have enough. That's not an issue. The question is that, is it beautiful? So if I do this, if I'm doing the folding and overlapping, up, up, I don't like it. Yeah, it's quite different here and here. We can really see it. But once I will have the stitches on it and it will be folded, I think it will not be so visible. And it makes things a lot easier than trying to invent a way of doing bow ties. So I still have this gap to fill with the bow ties that I intended at the first, and I have this part to cover up. But I think I will use the same than the same bow ties and the other way, the other gap than here. In order to select the final stitch, I did some checks with the machine, and this one is beautiful, but it's really long to prepare. In order to sew it into the bias, I should do it stitch by stitch, which would take forever, so I decided not to use this one. I don't like this one. The next one is okay, I like it, it's organic, it looks like little leaves. So maybe I could use this one. I don't like this one. This one, yes, it's pretty. Maybe I will use it. I'm not sure yet. Cross has too many defects, so it's a no for this one. I think as the squares have straight lines, this one would be better. Time to take a break. I have been requested to take breaks. I have not taken any yet, so now I have to take one and try to, how did they say? Try not to think about anything, gather some energy, and maybe I will feel a little better because I just realized that I am hungry. And back to sewing. So if I put it in this position, my stitch would be really in the middle of it. Do I want that? Yeah. This is what we are going for. So here is the result. Here we have something which is pretty much regular and I kind of like it. I did not succeed to have the top of the triangles everywhere as I was planning for at first, but when I did succeed, it's okay. I think that I did a beautiful sewing on the wrong side of the fabric. This would mean that on the right side of the fabric, I have this kind of finishing. The difference between the additional ribbon and the original bias tape is barely noticeable, even though they have different texture. We still have to hide the overlapping between the two of them. And there is also the remaining gap to close with something. I prepared my squares for the napkins. I have 12 squares of about 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters. So little bow ties I want to do for the tablecloth as a finishing. So I will be using the remaining of the cotton fabrics. I have a long band here, which is 1 meter and 20 centimeter by 9 centimeter. So maybe we can do something here. So if I form a tube, and then I pinch it here. Okay, it's very messy because I'm thinking what I'm doing the stuff, but here we could have some kind of little bow which could be cute. It could be cute. Maybe it will have a little more volume. Or maybe we can put a smaller bow on top of it to have two different bows, and it could be cute. I don't know. I also have two rectangles left. So these rectangles could enable to perform to prepare bows as well. But it would be a lot bigger. Okay, very, very quick fixing. Now, even if we do it like this, it would be big, very big. I'm not sure this is what I want, or maybe I only have to use half of it. Yep. And actually, it could be nice because we would have more creases here. I think there is no right side here, so I should be safe. I will still try to do this half the size just to see how it works. Size is better, but it's not cute. It's not cute. And if I put it this way, I finished attaching the bow to the tablecloth, and as you can see, the difference between the black ribbon and the black bias is hardly noticeable. You really have to look from up close in order to see that. The ribbon that is attached to the bow might be too long. I will see if I have to cut it later on. I like the final result and the tiny detail with the bows. We don't see the mistakes. Did I enjoy working on this project? Yes. I am fully happy with the result, even though it's not finished. It was only the first part of the project, and I still have to do the thickened layer of the tablecloth using the sparkling fabric. I would do this again. The only part I didn't really like for this was the machine part because it's quite long and the stitches are taking a long time. Maybe I would try not to do small gap mistake, which took me a long time to correct. But overall, I would do it again. So I like this kind of projects. Thank you for having followed the project with me. Check the second part that will be coming as soon as I have finished with the sparkling layer of this tablecloth for our Christmas vibe. Thank you and have a nice day.